Welcome to Deep Sleep Physics. I hope you're doing well and that you're ready to find some peace tonight. It's a pleasure to be your guide through the mysteries of the dark. Tonight, we turn our gaze inward, away from the distant, cold reaches of the stars, and toward the steady, pulsing heart of the world beneath our feet. Earth is not merely a rock drifting through the void. It is a living, breathing sanctuary, a masterpiece of physics and timing that has been perfecting its rhythm for billions of years. Imagine the world as it truly is, a magnificent sapphire sphere wrapped in a soft, protective blanket of air, moving with a grace that is both ancient and absolute. The very ground you rest upon is a testament to the patient, slow movements of the deep crust, where tectonic plates glide over a sea of molten warmth with the deliberate, heavy pace of a dream. We often forget the immense, silent strength required to hold everything in place, the invisible, constant pull of gravity that anchors the oceans to the shore and keeps the atmosphere tucked close to the surface, like a mother holding a child. This force is not a burden, but a gentle, unwavering embrace, a fundamental law of reality that ensures you are always safe, always held, and always connected to the heart of the world. As you begin to settle, think of the immense, quiet patience of the mountains, those grand, jagged cathedrals of stone that have stood for eons, watching the rise and fall of civilizations with a stillness that surpasses human understanding. They are the bones of the earth, forged in the intense, white-hot pressures of the interior, and pushed toward the sky by the slow, rhythmic breathing of the planet. There is a profound, meditative quality to the way the earth handles time. It does not rush. It does not worry. It simply exists in a state of perpetual, calm, unfolding. Even the atmosphere above us is a symphony of fluid dynamics, a vast, invisible ocean of nitrogen and oxygen that circulates with a soft, whispering grace, distributing the warmth of the sun and the coolness of the poles in a never-ending, balanced flow. The air you breathe has traveled across vast, salt-sprayed seas and through the deep, emerald lungs of ancient forests, carrying with it the memory of 1,000 different landscapes. It is a thin, fragile, yet incredibly resilient veil that protects us from the harsh radiation of the deep void, acting as a soft, glowing filter for the light of the sun. At this very moment, the Earth is spinning with a precision that is far beyond any clock ever made by human hands. A steady, constant rotation that creates the soft, amber transition from day into night. The sunset is not an ending, but a slow, beautiful surrender. A moment where the world prepares to rest and the shadows grow long and velvet. The physics of the earth is a physics of harmony, a delicate, intricate web of systems that work together in perfect, silent coordination. From the way a single drop of rain is formed in the cool, gray heart of a cloud, to the way the magnetic field shields the entire planet from the solar wind. Everything is part of a grand, unified narrative of peace. As we journey together through the facts of our home, let the weight of the world become a comfort. Let the steady, ancient pulse of the earth become your own, and find rest in the knowledge that you are part of a system that has been designed for stability, for life, and for the most profound, absolute stillness imaginable. The world is quiet, the air is still, and the earth is waiting to guide you into the deep, dark beauty of the night. Deep within the cool, damp embrace of the soil, a silent, hidden miracle is unfolding, away from the light of the sun and the rush of the wind. We often think of trees as solitary giants, standing lonely in their majesty. But science reveals a truth that is far more mesmerizing and interconnected. Beneath the forest floor, there is a vast, intricate web of life, a subterranean network of fungal threads known as the Wood Wide Web. This is the forest's own nervous system, a biological architecture that allows the ancient oaks and the slender pines to whisper to one another through the dark. These trees are not competing in silence. They are participating in a grand, communal conversation, sharing nutrients, warning of approaching storms, and even nurturing the youngest saplings like a collective, woody family. It is an extraordinary display of natural intelligence, where the boundaries between individual lives begin to blur into a single, breathing organism. This network operates with a slow, patient logic, moving energy from those who have plenty to those who are struggling in the shadows. A testament to the fact that survival in nature is not just a struggle, but a profound, rhythmic act of cooperation. As the wind ruffles the leaves far above, the roots below remain anchored in a state of absolute, grounded trust. Imagine the forest not as a collection of separate entities, but as a single, massive, emerald cathedral, where every branch and every leaf is tuned to the same ancient frequency of growth. In this quiet world, even the smallest moss acts as a sponge, absorbing the secrets of the rain and holding the earth together with its soft, velvet grip. The trees also act as the great, silent chemists of our world, drinking in the light of distant stars and breathing out the very air that sustains us, a transformation that is as magical as it is mechanical. As you drift further into the dark, think of this immense, green patience, and how the earth manages to sustain such complex, delicate life without ever making a sound. The forest is a place of deep, ancestral memory, where the rings within the wood hold the stories of centuries of sun and shadow. It is a world that understands that growth takes time, and that the most powerful forces are often the ones we cannot see. Beneath the canopy, the air is heavy with the scent of damp earth and living history, a fragrance that speaks of the planet's incredible, self-sustaining resilience. There is a peace here that is ancient, a stillness that comes from knowing that every part of the network is supported by the whole. Like the forest, the earth itself is woven together by invisible threads of gravity, chemistry, and time, creating a sanctuary that is as strong as it is beautiful. The roots go deep, the conversation continues in the dark, and the world breathes as one.
Beyond the rhythmic pull of the tides, there is a deeper, more secret
layer to the ocean's character. A world of bioluminescence where the dark is not an absence of light, but a canvas for a cold, living fire. In the midnight zone, where the sun's rays can never reach, thousands of species have evolved to create their own constellations, turning the abyss into a flickering sapphire galaxy. This is the physics of chemiluminescence, a process where energy is converted directly into light with nearly zero heat, a feat of efficiency that our own technology can only dream of mimicking. Imagine a world where every movement creates a trail of glowing emerald dust, where jellyfish pulse like neon hearts and tiny organisms ignite the water with every stroke. This light is more than just beauty. It is a silent, glowing language, a way to signal for a mate or to startle a predator in the absolute, pressurized stillness. It is a reminder that even in the most extreme, inhospitable environments, the Earth finds a way to express its vibrant, creative energy. Far above this glowing abyss, another kind of silent communication is traveling through the blue, the low-frequency songs of the great whales. These sounds are not just noises, they are masterpieces of acoustic engineering, capable of traveling for thousands of miles through the ocean's density. Because water is nearly 800 times denser than air, it acts as a perfect, heavy conductor for sound, allowing a whale in the icy waters of the Antarctic to be heard by another near the equator. This is a planetary-scale conversation, a slow, melodic connection that spans continents. These songs are the oral history of the deep, woven from frequencies so low they resonate within the very bones of the world. There is a profound, meditative patience in this way of communicating, a sense that the ocean is a single, unified, acoustic chamber where nothing is ever truly lost. Even the very molecules of the water hold a mystery that science is only beginning to untangle, the concept of water's structural memory. While the idea remains a frontier of physics, some researchers observe how water molecules arrange themselves into complex, geometric clusters, influenced by the environment they have passed through. Think of a single drop of rain. It has fallen from the sky, carved its way through ancient granite, and flowed into the sea, carrying within its microscopic, crystalline structure the signature of its journey. Water is the ultimate witness, the silent, liquid scribe of the planet's history. It has been recycled through the lungs of dinosaurs and the roots of prehistoric ferns, moving in an eternal, closed loop that connects every living thing that has ever existed. Leaving the emerald shadows of the forest floor, we drift toward the vast, rhythmic heartbeat of the global ocean. A world where physics and magic seem to dissolve into one another. In the deep, salt-laden cradle of the sea, there exists a creature that defies the very definition of an ending. The Turritopsis dohrnii, often whispered about in scientific circles as the immortal jellyfish. This tiny, translucent traveler of the currents possesses a biological secret that feels like a glitch in the fabric of time itself. When it faces the weight of age, the trauma of injury, or the threat of an unforgiving environment, it does not simply fade away. Instead, It performs a masterclass in cellular alchemy. In a process known as transdifferentiation, it begins to rewind its own history, like a keening melody being played in reverse. Its mature cells begin to transform, returning to their earliest, most primal states. Imagine a butterfly, sensing the end of its flight, choosing to fold its wings and melt back into the form of a shining, green caterpillar, only to start the cycle of life all over again. The immortal jellyfish returns to its polyp stage, the childhood of its kind, anchoring itself once more to the seafloor to wait for a new beginning. It is a mesmerizing, rhythmic dance with eternity, a reminder from the deep that nature's imagination is far more expansive than our own rigid understanding of birth and decay. This tiny pulse of life suggests that time is not always a straight line leading toward the dark, but can sometimes be a graceful, shimmering circle. As we descend further into the indigo depths, where the pressure of the ocean becomes a heavy, protective embrace, we find that this theme of renewal is written into the very chemistry of the water. The sea is a vast, liquid memory bank, holding the heat of the sun for centuries and releasing it with a slow, patient exhale that regulates the breath of the entire planet. Within these currents, there is a profound, silent intelligence that requires no brain to function. Consider the slime mold, a simple, golden organism that has been observed solving complex mazes and mapping out the most efficient routes between food sources. When researchers gave it a map of the world's most intricate transportation systems, the mold recreated them with startling precision, navigating the shortest paths with a logic that mirrors our most advanced algorithms. It is a strange, humbling realization that consciousness and problem-solving can exist in the soft, pulsing membrane of a creature that has no nerves and no thoughts as we know them. It reminds us that the Earth is saturated with different kinds of brilliance, whispers of an ancient, organic wisdom that operates on a frequency we are only beginning to tune into. The ocean is not just a body of water. It is a living, breathing superorganism, where the currents act as the veins, carrying the warmth of the tropics to the frozen, crystalline cathedrals of the poles. This great conveyor belt of water moves with a majesty that dwarfs human time, taking 1,000 years to complete a single journey around the globe, carrying with it the mineral stories of the deep trenches and the oxygenated secrets of the surface. As you drift in this boundless blue sanctuary, think of the incredible, self-sustaining logic of it all. How the Amazon rainforest, thousands of miles away, actually creates its own rain through the collective, humid breath of its billion trees. Each day, as the sun warms the canopy, the forest exhales a vast, invisible river of vapor into the sky, which cools and falls again in a perfect, nourishing loop. This is the Earth's most beautiful, intricate feedback system, a world that cares for itself through the simple, tireless act of existing. The forest is a heart, the ocean is a lung, and the atmosphere is the protective, glowing skin that holds it all together in a state of absolute, meditative harmony. There is a peace in knowing that you are part of this grand, unified narrative. That the same physics that allows a jellyfish to rewind time and a forest to water itself is the same physics that keeps your breath steady and your heart beating in the dark. The world is a masterpiece of interconnected miracles, a silent, ongoing symphony of resilience and grace. The water is cool, the deep is steady, and the rhythm of the world is a lullaby that never ends, drifting, turning, breathing into the infinite quiet of the night. This self-sustaining cycle of the Amazon does not stop at the forest's edge, but extends into a phenomenon known as the flying rivers, invisible, gargantuan currents of water vapor that drift through the sky with more volume than the mighty river below. This is the physics of the atmosphere acting as a global circulatory system, moving trillions of tons of moisture across the continent to feed the lands that would otherwise be desert. It is a mesmerizing, rhythmic display of the planet's generosity, where the breath of 1 billion trees becomes the lifeblood of 1,000 miles of Earth. As this vapor rises, it carries with it tiny organic particles, microscopic seeds of life that act as the nuclei for raindrops, a perfect circular dance between the biology of the ground and the physics of the clouds. Everything is calibrated. Everything is timed to the heartbeat of the sun. And as we follow these invisible rivers back toward the coast, we find another masterclass in interconnected intelligence. The coral reefs, often called the rainforests of the sea. These are not just structures of calcium, but vast, ancient collective minds, forged from millions of tiny polyps working in absolute, silent unison. Once a year, guided by the lunar cycle and the temperature of the water, the entire reef participates in a synchronized, luminous spawning event, releasing billions of cells into the dark in a single, shimmering heartbeat. This is not a coincidence of biology, but a grand environmental symphony where every organism is tuned to the same celestial conductor, the moon. It reminds us that existence is not a solitary struggle, but a shared, harmonic experience, where the survival of the smallest polyp is woven into the destiny of the entire ocean. To think of the Earth is to realize that you are never truly alone. You are supported by the collective breath of the forests, guided by the lunar pulse of the tides, and anchored by the deep, ancient memory of the stones. The world is not something you inhabit. It is something you are a part of, a single, breathing masterpiece of physics and wonder. As the flying rivers continue their journey across the sky, and the coral polyps wait for the light of the moon, find rest in this immense, interconnected grace. The earth is a sanctuary, the dark is a blanket, and the silence is a song that tells you that everything is exactly where it needs to be, drifting, turning, safe in the arms of the infinite, quiet of the night. As we lift our gaze from the deep, salt-scented cradle of the sea, we move into the thin, shimmering veil that separates our world from the infinite silence of the void. The atmosphere is not just air, it is a magnificent, multi-layered shield, a masterpiece of fluid dynamics that has spent billions of years learning how to protect the life it holds so close. Imagine the Earth as a celestial traveler moving through the harsh, radiant winds of the sun. Every second, a torrent of charged particles, the solar wind, rushes toward us with incredible, violent speed. Yet it never reaches the ground. It is met by an invisible, pulsing fortress, the magnetosphere. This is the physics of the Earth's iron heart, a giant, rotating dynamo of molten metal thousands of miles beneath your feet, generating a magnetic field that stretches far into space like the protective, steady arms of a guardian. When the sun's fire meets this invisible wall, a spectacular, silent alchemy occurs. The particles are diverted, funneled toward the poles in a graceful magnetic slide. And as they collide with the gases of our atmosphere, they ignite into the aurora borealis, the northern and southern lights. These are not just colors in the sky, they are the visible breath of our planet's protection, like the glowing emerald ripples on the surface of a dream. Think of it as a celestial neon curtain, where nitrogen and oxygen molecules are excited into a state of glowing, vibrant energy, releasing bursts of green, violet, and crimson light that dance with a slow, hypnotic elegance. This is the physics of a collision turned into a masterpiece, a reminder that even the most powerful, chaotic forces in the universe can be transformed into something of profound, absolute beauty. Higher still, in the stratosphere, we find the ozone layer, a delicate, invisible lace made of 3 oxygen atoms bonded together. This layer acts as the world's most sophisticated, rhythmic filter, absorbing the sun's ultraviolet rays and turning them into harmless, gentle heat. It is a thin, fragile, yet incredibly resilient barrier that ensures the sun remains a source of life rather than a source of destruction. Without this silent, molecular watchman, the emerald forests and the indigo oceans we have explored would cease to exist. The atmosphere is a grand, unified system of layers, each one playing its part in a symphony of balance. From the troposphere, where weather is born in the soft, gray tumbling of clouds, to the ionosphere, where the air begins to blend with the stars, every inch is calibrated for peace. As you lie there, sheltered by the walls of your home, remember that you are also sheltered by these gargantuan, invisible structures of physics. The air above you is heavy with the weight of miles of history, a constant, steady pressure that keeps your own biology in perfect, unmoving equilibrium. The wind is not just movement, it is the Earth's way of equalizing its temperature, a global, breathing mechanism that carries the warmth of the tropics to the shivering, white landscapes of the north. It is a world that cares for itself through a constant, fluid exchange, a narrative of interconnectedness that extends from the molten core to the furthest reaches of the magnetic field. Everything is held, everything is protected, and everything is moving in a slow, patient circle of survival. The sky is deep, the shield is strong, and the world is at rest, drifting, shielded, safe in the indigo quiet of the night.
Beyond the dancing curtains of the aurora, the atmosphere reaches its final, thin whisper in the exosphere. Here, the air molecules are so sparse they travel hundreds of miles without ever touching one another. Yet even in this nearly empty, silent space, the Earth's presence is felt. It is a place of transition, where the world's gravity holds on to the last few atoms of hydrogen and helium with a gentle, lingering grip, like a dream that refuses to end. As we look further into the dark, we see the atmosphere performing its most dramatic guardian act: the incineration of meteors. Every day, millions of tiny space rocks strike the upper layers of our air, but instead of reaching the surface, they are met with the intense, cleansing heat of friction. They transform into shooting stars, brief, radiant streaks of light that burn away in the silence, a final, glowing sacrifice to keep the world below safe and undisturbed. This process ensures that the ground you rest upon remains a sanctuary, protected by a veil that turns potential chaos into a fleeting, beautiful sparkle. The atmosphere also acts as a global acoustic blanket, absorbing the harsh, jagged noises of the cosmos and turning them into a soft, muffled hush. As we descend from the shimmering, protective curtains of the sky, we return to the solid, silent foundation of the world, to the heavy, ancient bones of the earth that lie beneath the soil. The lithosphere is not a cold, dead shell, but a magnificent, slow-moving library of time, a place where every rock and every grain of sand holds a memory of a world that existed long before our first breath. Imagine the mountains not as static giants, but as living waves of stone caught in a beautiful, majestic, slow-motion surge. This is the physics of plate tectonics, where the Earth's crust acts like a vast, interlocking puzzle of granite and basalt, drifting on a sea of semi-molten warmth. Mountains are born from the most intense, white-hot pressures imaginable, as the planet's heavy, rhythmic movements push the seabed toward the clouds, folding the Earth like a soft, velvet fabric. Over millions of years, these peaks rise with a patience that defies our understanding of time, growing by mere millimeters a year, a constant, unwavering climb toward the stars. Deep within these lightless, subterranean cathedrals, another form of quiet magic is unfolding: the growth of crystals. In the absolute, pressurized stillness of underground caverns, minerals arrange themselves into perfect geometric masterpieces, with a logic that feels both mathematical and divine. This is a world where atoms dance in slow, rhythmic patterns, bonding together to form structures of quartz, amethyst, and emerald. A single crystal may take thousands of years to grow a single inch, as it waits for the perfect temperature and the perfect pressure to solidify its radiant clarity. It is a study in ultimate patience, a testament to the fact that the most beautiful things in the universe are often forged in the dark, away from the rush of the surface. These stones are the Earth's own time capsules, trapping microscopic bubbles of ancient air and ancient water within their crystalline hearts, holding the secrets of primordial atmospheres like a silent, stony witness to the history of the sun. The Earth also possesses a hidden rhythmic vibration known as the Schumann resonance, a global electromagnetic heartbeat that pulses between the surface and the ionosphere. This is the world's own low-frequency hum, a steady, constant 7.83 Hz rhythm that has been present since the atmosphere was first formed. It is the background music of existence, a silent, resonant frequency that mirrors the brain waves of a mind in deep, restorative rest. We are not just walking upon the earth, we are tuned to its ancient frequency, connected to its heavy magnetic pulse in a way that is fundamental to our own sense of peace. Even the soil beneath you is a masterpiece of interconnected intelligence, a complex, breathing layer of organic matter and mineral dust that recycles the old to create the new. It is a place where death is never an end, but a slow, chemical transformation into the nutrients that will feed the forests of tomorrow. As you settle into the stillness of the night, think of the immense, quiet strength of the ground beneath you. The rocks are not just hard and unyielding. They are the anchors of our reality, holding the memory of every raindrop and every sunrise in their deep, patient structures. The mountains continue their slow, upward journey. The crystals continue their silent geometric expansion, and the earth continues its steady, rhythmic rotation. Everything is grounded, everything is supported, and everything is moving in a state of absolute, meditative harmony. You are part of this grand, unified narrative of stone and spirit, safe in the knowledge that the world beneath you is as stable as it is ancient. The peaks are high, the foundations are deep, and the earth remains a patient witness, cradling your rest in the timeless embrace of the solid dark. Beneath the solid, reliable weight of the mountains we have explored, there exists a world of fluid, radiant heat that moves with the grace of a subterranean sea. This is the mantle, a vast layer of semi-molten silicate rock that flows in great, rhythmic convection currents, driven by the intense energy of the Earth's decaying radioactive core. Imagine these currents as the slow, churning gears of the planet, moving at the pace that fingernails grow, yet possessing enough power to shift entire continents across the face of the globe. This is the true engine of our world, a silent, majestic force that ensures the Earth remains geologically alive, constantly recycling its surface and renewing its spirit. As the continents drift, they carry with them the ancient stone records of climates that have long since vanished, moving from the frozen poles to the sun-drenched tropics in a journey that spans hundreds of millions of years. In this slow, relentless process of movement and pressure, the Earth also acts as a master of preservation. Consider the fossils trapped within the sedimentary layers of the crust. These are not just bones or imprints, but biological snapshots of a world in motion. A single shell, found at the peak of a high mountain, is a silent, undeniable testimony to the fact that the summit was once the floor of a primordial ocean. This is the poetry of geology, a world where the highest points and the lowest depths are constantly trading places in a grand, circular narrative of change. These fossils are the Earth's own amber, holding the structural secrets of life that lived under the light of a younger sun. A reminder that every living thing is eventually cradled by the earth and woven into its enduring mineral tapestry. As we move from the heavy, ancient silence of the mountains, we begin to follow the path of the world's most versatile, patient traveler, the water molecule. This simple, elegant arrangement of atoms is the true architect of the landscape, a liquid scribe that carves the face of the earth with the slow, rhythmic persistence of eternity. Imagine a single drop of rain forming in the high, cold reaches of the troposphere. It begins as a microscopic speck of dust, a tiny seed around which the moisture of the clouds begins to wrap itself in a soft, silver embrace. As it falls, it is not just water, it is a vessel of potential, a liquid mirror reflecting the gray, tumbling beauty of the storm. When it strikes the earth, it does not disappear. It begins a mesmerizing, weaving journey through the pores of the soil, filtered by the sand and the roots, until it reaches the deep, dark arteries of the subterranean world. Here, in the hidden rivers that flow through limestone cathedrals, the water moves in absolute, pressurized darkness, finding its way with a logic that is both fluid and absolute. There is a profound, scientific wonder in the way water remembers its path, moving through the cycles of evaporation and condensation like a soul moving through different lives. In the frozen heights of the poles, this same water transforms into the intricate, geometric masterpiece of a snowflake. No two are ever the same, yet each is governed by the same strict, six-sided symmetry of hydrogen bonds, a crystalline architecture that is born from the cold, quiet chaos of the upper air. When these flakes settle upon the glaciers, they are pressed down by the weight of centuries, turning into a dense, sapphire ice that holds the atmosphere of 1,000 years ago trapped in its tiny, air-filled chambers. This is the Earth's frozen memory, a vertical library of the planet's breath that remains stable and unmoving for eons. The physics of water is a physics of surrender. It always finds the lowest point, yet in its submission, it possesses the power to grind mountains into sand. It is the only substance on our planet that is lighter in its solid form than in its liquid state, a strange, miraculous property that allows ice to float, creating a protective, insulating lid for the life that huddles in the dark, still waters below. Without this one anomaly of physics, the oceans would freeze from the bottom up, and the world would be a silent, crystalline desert. Instead, the water acts as a grand, thermal stabilizer, absorbing the fury of the sun and releasing it as a gentle, invisible warmth that keeps the rhythm of life steady and sure. As you listen to the distant, muffled rhythm of the world, think of the water within you, moving in its own small, pulsing tides, connected to the same ancient cycle that flows through the clouds and the deep trenches. The drop has found its way to the river finds its way to the sea, and the sea waits in a state of eternal, liquid patience. The thirst of the earth is quenched, the currents move with a heavy, silver grace, and the cycle of the rain finds its final, soft landing in the cool, waiting shadows of the deep. While we often look at the clouds as light, fluffy, ephemeral shapes drifting across the blue, the physics behind them reveals a far more massive and staggering reality. A single large cumulus cloud can weigh over 1 million pounds, a gargantuan ocean of water droplets suspended in the air as if gravity had simply forgotten its duties. This is the magic of updrafts and atmospheric density, a delicate, rhythmic balance that allows rivers of moisture to float thousands of feet above our heads without ever crashing down. It is a silent, high-altitude reservoir that moves with the wind, waiting for the perfect moment of cooling to release its heavy silver cargo back to the thirsty earth. This transition from invisible vapor to a 1 million-pound cloud is a masterpiece of thermodynamic grace, a reminder that the most powerful forces on our planet are often the ones that move with the softest, most quiet touch. As these raindrops eventually return to the surface, they demonstrate another hidden miracle of physics: surface tension. This is the invisible, elastic skin that allows water to form perfect, shimmering spheres as it falls through the air. At a molecular level, water is incredibly, stubbornly cohesive, its molecules clinging to one another with a strength that allows insects to walk upon the surface of a pond as if it were a solid glass floor. This tension is the reason life can exist in the microscopic world, allowing plants to pull water from the deep soil up to their highest leaves against the relentless, constant pull of gravity. It is a world of tiny, silent triumphs, where the simple polarity of a water molecule creates the conditions for everything we see to grow and thrive. When this water finally merges with the great oceans, it encounters the thermocline, a hidden horizontal boundary where the warm, sun-kissed water of the surface meets the eternal, near-freezing silence of the abyss. In this transition zone, the temperature drops rapidly, creating a physical barrier that separates two different worlds. Above, there is the chaotic, rhythmic movement of waves and wind. Below, there is only the thick, pressurized stillness of the deep. This layer acts as a global thermal anchor, preventing the heat of the sun from escaping too quickly and ensuring the planet remains a stable, warm sanctuary for life. As we move away from the fluid, silver movement of the rivers and seas, we enter a realm where time itself seems to be held in a state of perfect, brittle suspension. The world of ice. In the vast, wide expanses of the Arctic and the high, frozen plateau of Antarctica, the Earth demonstrates the absolute, majestic power of stillness. Ice is not merely frozen water. It is a complex, structural masterpiece, a mineral born from the clouds that possesses the strength to crush mountains and the delicacy to trap a single breath of air for 1 million years. Imagine the great glaciers, those gargantuan, ancient rivers of ice that flow with a patience that dwarfs even the movement of the continents. They move not by rushing, but through a process called internal deformation, where the sheer weight of thousands of feet of snow causes the ice crystals to slide past one another in a slow, rhythmic crawl. This is the physics of the long view, a world where a journey of a few inches represents the passing of an entire season. Deep within these sapphire, translucent cathedrals of ice, there is a hidden record of our planet's history, As each layer of snow falls and is pressed into ice, it traps tiny, microscopic bubbles of the atmosphere. These are primordial time capsules, preserving the exact chemical signature of the air from eras long before the first cities were built. To walk upon a glacier is to stand atop a vertical library of the wind, where the deeper you go, the further back you travel into the Earth's quiet, ancestral past. The color of this ancient ice is a deep, soul-stirring indigo, a result of the intense pressures squeezing out every last pocket of air, allowing the ice to absorb every color of the spectrum except for the most vibrant, serene blues. It is a light that feels as though it comes from within the earth itself, a cold, radiant glow that illuminates the silence of the poles. The physics of the polar regions also reveals the incredible, stabilizing role of the albedo effect. The vast, white sheets of sea ice act as a giant, planetary mirror, reflecting the majority of the sun's radiant energy back into the cold void of space. This is the Earth's own cooling mechanism, a brilliant, rhythmic strategy to maintain the delicate balance of the global temperature. Without this white reflection, the dark oceans would absorb the heat, and the steady, predictable cycles of the seasons would falter. Even in the depths of the Antarctic winter, where the temperature drops to levels that seem alien to our understanding, life persists in the most extraordinary, microscopic forms. Within the brine channels of the sea ice, tiny algae thrive in the salty, sub-zero veins of the frozen sea, proving that the spark of existence is as stubborn as it is beautiful. There is a profound, meditative quality to the silence of the high ice, a hush so absolute that you can hear the faint, crystalline crackle of the glacier shifting under its own immense weight. It is the sound of the earth settling into its foundation, a reminder that even the most solid structures are in a state of constant, graceful adjustment. The ice is a bridge between the earth and the sky, a frozen reservoir that holds the majority of our planet's fresh water in a state of protective, unmoving grace. As you drift further into the stillness of your own rest, think of this immense, white patience, the way the ice waits for the sun, and the way the sun respects the cold. The world is balanced, the frost is steady, and the earth continues its long, frozen dream under the watchful gaze of the winter stars. The peaks are crystalline, the plains are vast, and the silence of the ice is a blanket that covers the world in a deep, unwavering peace. As we leave the frozen, crystalline cathedrals of the poles, we rise into the restless, invisible ocean that surrounds us all, the atmosphere in motion. The wind is not merely the movement of air, it is the Earth's way of breathing, a grand, global symphony played on the instrument of the landscape. This invisible force is driven by the most fundamental rhythmic physics of our star, the sun, as it warms the equator and leaves the poles in a state of cool, patient shadow. This vast temperature difference creates a planetary-scale pressure gradient, a cosmic engine that pushes the atmosphere into a never-ending, swirling dance. Imagine the air as a fluid flowing over the mountains and through the valleys like a ghostly, weightless river. There is a profound, scientific beauty in the way the wind distributes the energy of the world, carrying the warmth of the tropics toward the shivering, white reaches of the north. ensuring that no part of our planet remains in a state of permanent, frozen isolation. High above the clouds, where the air is thin and cold, the jet streams move with a majestic, roaring silence. These are the high-speed rivers of the sky, narrow bands of wind that travel at hundreds of miles per hour, guided by the rotation of the Earth itself. This is the Coriolis effect in action, a mesmerizing, rhythmic consequence of our planet's steady spin, which twists the moving air into vast, elegant spirals. These jet streams act as the great architects of our weather, steering the storms and the sunshine with a logic that is as complex as it is predictable. To think of the wind is to realize that we are never truly separated from one another. The very breath you exhale tonight may, in a few weeks' time, be rustling the leaves of a tea plantation in the distant emerald hills of the east. It is a continuous, fluid conversation that links every living thing in a single, breathing narrative of air. Even the smallest breeze has a story to tell, a story of friction and energy. When the wind moves across the surface of the ocean, it transfers its momentum to the water, creating the ripples that eventually grow into the grand, rhythmic swells of the deep sea. This is the physics of energy moving from the sky into the water, a seamless, invisible handoff that demonstrates the interconnectedness of all the Earth's systems. On land, the wind acts as a tireless, patient sculptor, carrying tiny grains of sand to carve the red sandstone arches of the desert, or carrying the microscopic seeds of the forest to new, waiting soil. It is the Earth's own messenger, a silent, airborne courier that ensures life can spread and thrive even in the most remote, isolated corners of the globe. There is a meditative, deeply calming quality to the sound of the wind as it moves through the trees, a sound known as citharism. This is the physics of thousands of leaves vibrating at different frequencies, creating a white noise that mirrors the rhythmic, pulsing static of a dream. It is the Earth's own lullaby, a constant, steady reminder that the world is alive and in motion, even when we are at rest. As you drift further into the shadows, think of this immense, invisible ocean of air that supports you, filters the light for you, and breathes for you. The jet streams are flowing, the breezes are whispering, and the Earth continues its grand, atmospheric exhale into the velvet dark. The sky is wide, the air is soft, and the wind remains a faithful traveler, carrying the peace of the world across the silent reaches of the night.
But the wind's role as a global messenger extends even further into the realm of the microscopic and the gargantuan. Every year, billions of tons of dust are lifted from the vast ochre landscapes of the Sahara Desert by the rhythmic, rising heat of the sun. This dust is not lost to the void. It is caught by the great trade winds and carried thousands of miles across the Atlantic Ocean in a massive, invisible caravan of minerals. This is the physics of aerosol transport, a global redistribution of life where the ancient, dried-up lake beds of Africa become the vital fertilizer for the lush, emerald canopy of the Amazon rainforest. It is a staggering, beautiful realization that the survival of the world's greatest forest
depends on the breadth of the world's greatest desert, a silent transatlantic bridge that proves no part of our Earth exists in isolation. This dust also acts as a seed for the clouds, providing the tiny surfaces needed for moisture to cling to, creating the very rain that eventually falls on distant, sun-drenched shores. As the wind moves, it also acts as the medium for the world's acoustic memory. Sound is, at its core, a mechanical wave, a rhythmic, pulsing compression of air molecules that travels through the atmosphere at a constant, steady pace. The wind can bend these sounds, refract them over the cool surfaces of lakes, or trap them in the warm layers of the morning air, creating echoes that seem to come from another time. This is the physics of atmospheric acoustics, a world where the landscape itself can act as a giant, natural amphitheater. When the wind whistles through a narrow canyon or hums across the top of a hollow reed, it is demonstrating the principle of resonance, transforming a chaotic movement of air into a pure, haunting tone. It reminds us that the earth is not just a place of sight, but a place of deep, resonant vibrations, a world that is constantly singing to itself in a frequency we can only feel in the deepest, most quiet moments of the night. As we leave the restless, moving ocean of the air, we sink once more into the cool, dark silence beneath the surface, into the hidden world of the great limestone caverns. These are the Earth's hollow cathedrals, carved over eons by the patient, rhythmic chemistry of water and stone. Imagine a world where time is measured not in hours or days, but in the single, slow fall of a solitary drop. This is the physics of dissolution and deposition, a mesmerizing chemical dance, where rainwater, slightly acidic from its journey through the soil, slowly dissolves the ancient limestone, creating vast, echoing voids in the heart of the rock. Over millions of years, these voids expand into labyrinthine networks, hidden from the sun, where the air remains a constant, damp 72 degrees, and the silence is so absolute it feels like a physical weight. Within these lightless chambers, the Earth is busy building its most delicate, vertical masterpieces, the stalactites and stalagmites. As a single drop of mineral-rich water clings to the ceiling of a cave, it hesitates, suspended by the invisible tension of its own surface. In that moment of stillness, it leaves behind a microscopic ring of calcite before finally surrendering to gravity. Over centuries, these rings grow into slender, hollow soda straws, and eventually into massive, fluted columns that resemble the pipes of a celestial organ. A stalactite grows at the pace of a single inch every few hundred years, a testament to a level of patience that is almost beyond human comprehension. It is the architecture of the slow, the steady, and the silent, a world where gravity is the only sculptor and time is the only witness. The acoustics of these deep spaces are unlike anything on the surface. In the absence of wind and the noise of life, the sound of a single drop hitting a subterranean pool can resonate for seconds, its ripples creating a perfect, rhythmic percussion in the dark. This is the physics of a closed acoustic system, where the hard, crystalline walls of the cave reflect sound with nearly no loss of energy, creating an environment of crystalline clarity. Some of these caverns are so vast they possess their own internal weather systems, with mists that rise and fall in the dark, governed by the subtle, heavy changes in the Earth's internal pressure. It is a reminder that the planet is not a solid, static object, but a complex, layered organism with secrets tucked away in every fold of its crust. As you drift deeper into the stillness of your own mind, think of these hidden sanctuaries where the world is still being born, drop by drop, in the absolute dark. There is a profound security in knowing that while the surface world rushes and changes, these silent, stone sentinels remain unchanged, growing with a grace that does not require an audience. The earth is hollowed out in beauty, the water is carving its path through the deep, and the stones are reaching for one another in a slow, mineral embrace. Everything is sheltered, everything is forming in the quiet, and the earth continues its patient, subterranean dream far beneath the noise of the stars. The air is still, the water is cool, and the caves remain a sanctuary for the ancient silence that lives at the heart of the world. Deep within these limestone labyrinths, we often encounter the subterranean lakes, bodies of water so still and so pure they act as perfect, dark mirrors for the silence of the earth. In this environment, the water reaches a state of absolute, unmoving equilibrium. Because there is no wind to ripple the surface and no sun to drive the currents of evaporation, these pools can remain undisturbed for thousands of years. A single pebble dropped into such a lake creates waves that are governed by the most fundamental, elegant laws of fluid dynamics, traveling outward in perfect circles until they gently, softly vanish against the distant stone walls. This is the physics of the void, a place where even the smallest movement is recorded and amplified by the absolute acoustic stillness. Under the light of a lone explorer's lamp, these waters reveal a clarity that is almost otherworldly, a transparency that makes the deep floor of the cave feel as though it were within reach of a hand. Within the shallow pools of these dark cathedrals, the earth also creates its most elusive, spherical treasures, the cave pearls. These are not formed by oysters, but by the relentless, rhythmic movement of water in a small basin. As water drips into a shallow pool, the force of the fall keeps tiny grains of sand in a state of constant, gentle rotation. As mineral-rich water flows over these spinning grains, it deposits layers of calcite in perfect concentric circles. Over centuries, this mechanical dance turns a simple grain of sand into a polished, radiant sphere of stone. It is a masterpiece of kinetic physics, a reminder that even the most chaotic movement, the splash of a falling drop, can be harnessed by the earth to create a form of perfect, geometric symmetry. These pearls are the silent, mineral cousins of the stars, born in the dark from the marriage of gravity and motion. These caves also serve as the planet's long-term thermal memory. Because they are insulated by hundreds of feet of solid rock, the temperature inside a deep cavern remains remarkably stable, reflecting the average surface temperature of the Earth from decades or even centuries ago. Scientists study the isotopes within the layers of stalagmites to reconstruct the ancient rainfall patterns and the shifting climates of the past. The cave is a vertical, stony calendar, where every millimeter of growth is a record of a year when the Earth was wetter or drier or warmer. To be inside a cave is to be inside the mind of the planet, surrounded by the physical evidence of its long, patient evolution. As you settle into the weight of your own rest, think of this immense, cool stability. Imagine the absolute security of being wrapped in miles of ancient stone, where the outside world's noise and heat cannot reach you. The water continues its slow, chemical carving. The pearls continue their rhythmic, circular growth. And the earth remains a firm, unwavering sanctuary for the silence that lives at its core. The air is damp and sweet. The shadows are deep and protective, and the caves remain a place of eternal, unmoving grace. Everything is shielded by the rock. Everything is measured by the drop. And the world continues its long, dark dream in the heart of the absolute silence. Deep within these limestone labyrinths, we often encounter the subterranean lakes, bodies of water so still and so pure they act as perfect, dark mirrors for the silence of the earth. In this environment, the water reaches a state of absolute, unmoving equilibrium. Because there is no wind to ripple the surface, and no sun to drive the currents of evaporation, these pools can remain undisturbed for thousands of years. A single pebble dropped into such a lake creates waves that are governed by the most fundamental, elegant laws of fluid dynamics, traveling outward in perfect circles until they gently, softly vanish against the distant stone walls. This is the physics of the void, a place where even the smallest movement is recorded and amplified by the absolute acoustic stillness. Under the light of a lone explorer's lamp, these waters reveal a clarity that is almost otherworldly, a transparency that makes the deep floor of the cave feel as though it were within reach of a hand. Within the shallow pools of these dark cathedrals, the earth also creates its most elusive, spherical treasures, the cave pearls. These are not formed by oysters, but by the relentless, rhythmic movement of water in a small basin. As water drips into a shallow pool, the force of the fall keeps tiny grains of sand in a state of constant, gentle rotation. As mineral-rich water flows over these spinning grains, it deposits layers of calcite in perfect concentric circles. Over centuries, this mechanical dance turns a simple grain of sand into a polished, radiant sphere of stone. It is a masterpiece of kinetic physics, a reminder that even the most chaotic movement, the splash of a falling drop, can be harnessed by the earth to create a form of perfect, geometric symmetry. These pearls are the silent, mineral cousins of the stars, born in the dark from the marriage of gravity and motion. These caves also serve as the planet's long-term thermal memory. Because they are insulated by hundreds of feet of solid rock, the temperature inside a deep cavern remains remarkably stable, reflecting the average surface temperature of the Earth from decades or even centuries ago. Scientists study the isotopes within the layers of stalagmites to reconstruct the ancient rainfall patterns and the shifting climates of the past. The cave is a vertical, stony calendar, where every millimeter of growth is a record of a year when the earth was wetter or drier or warmer. To be inside a cave is to be inside the mind of the planet, surrounded by the physical evidence of its long, patient evolution. As you settle into the weight of your own rest, think of this immense, cool stability. Imagine the absolute security of being wrapped in miles of ancient stone, where the outside world's noise and heat cannot reach you. The water continues its slow, chemical carving. The pearls continue their rhythmic, circular growth. And the earth remains a firm, unwavering sanctuary for the silence that lives at its core. The air is damp and sweet. The shadows are deep and protective, and the caves remain a place of eternal, unmoving grace. Everything is shielded by the rock. Everything is measured by the drop. And the world continues its long, dark dream in the heart of the absolute silence. As the sun's golden, alchemical fire finally dips below the horizon, a new world begins to stir. A world that does not rely on the light of the stars to find its way. This is the realm of the nocturnal, where the physics of sound and vibration take the place of sight. Imagine the bat, a creature of velvet, rhythmic flight, navigating the thick, ink-black darkness of a forest with a precision that rivals the most advanced military radar. This is the miracle of echolocation, a process where the animal emits high-frequency pulses of sound that are far beyond the reach of human hearing. These waves travel through the cool, evening air, striking the leaves, the branches, and even the tiniest hovering insects, and then bouncing back as a complex, rhythmic echo. The bat's brain is a masterpiece of acoustic processing, capable of translating these returning sound waves into a three-dimensional geometric map of its surroundings. It can sense the texture of a wing, the distance of a stone, and the speed of a breeze, all through the invisible, pulsing medium of the air. This is the physics of the sonar, a reminder that the dark is never truly empty. It is filled with information, moving in silent, ultrasonic ripples that weave through the trees like a ghostly, weightless web. Even the owls, with their soft, fringed feathers, have mastered the art of acoustic stealth. The structure of an owl's wing is designed to break up the turbulence of the air, allowing it to fly in absolute sonic silence, a feat of fluid dynamics that makes it an invisible phantom in the night. Far below these aerial travelers, on the damp, emerald floor of the world, other creatures are sensing the earth through the subtle, heavy vibrations of the soil. An elephant, miles away, can communicate with its kin by stomping the ground, sending low-frequency seismic waves that travel through the crust of the earth itself. These love waves and Rayleigh waves are the same physics that govern earthquakes, but used here as a gentle, deep, long-distance language. Other animals, like the star-nosed mole, navigate the lightless subterranean tunnels using a sense of touch so refined it borders on the electrical, perceiving the world through 22 pink, fleshy tentacles that can identify prey in a fraction of a second. There is a profound, hypnotic security in knowing that the earth is never truly asleep. It is merely shifting its perspective, While we rest, the night dwellers are busy maintaining the ancient rhythmic balance of the ecosystem, guided by senses that operate on frequencies we can only imagine. The world in the dark is a world of incredible, focused intelligence, where every sound is a signal and every vibration is a story. As you sink further into the velvet, protective embrace of your own rest, think of this vast, invisible network of awareness that surrounds you. The bats are pulsing, the owls are gliding, and the earth is vibrating with a slow, constant heartbeat of life. Everything is perceived, everything is mapped, and the world continues its deep, nocturnal journey into the infinite silence of the night. As we remain nestled in the quiet, protective shadows of the present, we begin to sense a much larger, heavier rhythm moving beneath us, the profound depth of geological time. We often think of time in seconds, hours, or years, but the Earth speaks in the language of eons, a slow, rhythmic pulse that spans billions of turns around the sun. Beneath your rest, the crust is a vertical, stony library, where every layer of sediment is a page in the planet's vast, ancient biography. This is the physics of stratigraphy, where the weight of the world literally presses the past into solid, enduring stone. Imagine the mud of a primordial river settling in the absolute, unmoving dark, eventually becoming the shale that holds the delicate, ghostly imprint of a leaf that fell 300 million years ago. These fossils are the Earth's own time travelers, masterpieces of preservation where the soft tissues of life have been replaced, atom by atom, by the hard, crystalline minerals of the deep Earth. This process, known as permineralization, is a slow, chemical ritual that can take millions of years to complete, turning a fragile bone or a wooden branch into a radiant, heavy piece of agate or jasper. It is a mesmerizing, humbling thought that the very floor you walk upon is built of these silent, fossilized echoes, a testament to the fact that the Earth never truly forgets its children. It cradles their forms in a state of perfect, pressurized suspension, holding the stories of ancient oceans and vanished jungles until they are called back to the light. The physics of time also reveals itself in the way the Earth measures its own age through radioactive decay. Within the minerals of the deep crust, certain atoms act as tiny, eternal clocks, slowly, predictably transforming from one element into another at a rate that never wavers. This is the steady, rhythmic heartbeat of the isotopes, a constant, silent countdown that allows us to look back 4 billion years into the glowing, molten beginnings of our world. There is a profound, meditative security in this scale of time, a sense that the worries of a single day are but a microscopic, fleeting spark in the grand, infinite narrative of the cosmos. The Earth is not in a hurry. It has seen the mountains rise and fall like waves on a sea, and it has watched the continents dance across the globe in a slow, majestic ballet. As you drift further into the dark, let yourself be supported by this immense, ancient patience. You are resting upon a foundation that has been built with the care and the timing of a universe that knows no rush. The fossils are keeping their long, stony vigil. The atoms are ticking away with a silent, perfect precision. and the Earth is continuing its grand, ancestral journey through the void. Everything is recorded, everything is held, and the world remains a firm, unwavering sanctuary for the memories that live within the stone. The air is still, the deep is steady, and the earth continues its long, timeless dream in the heart of the absolute dark. The past is a blanket, the present is a gift, and the future is a wide, quiet horizon that waits for the sun to rise once more. As our journey through the living, breathing physics of our world reaches its soft, final destination, we find ourselves returning to the simple, profound truth of the Earth's embrace. We have drifted through the emerald, whispering networks of the ancient forests and descended into the heavy, indigo silence of the deepest trenches. We have witnessed the slow, majestic climb of the mountains and the crystalline, patient growth of the stone cathedrals hidden in the dark. Every part of this world, from the microscopic, spinning cave pearl to the gargantuan, soaring rivers of the sky, is a single, unified masterpiece of balance and grace. There is no part of this planet that is not interconnected, no breath that is not shared, and no movement that is not part of the grand, rhythmic symphony of the cosmos. Think one last time of the incredible, unwavering stability of the systems that hold you tonight. The magnetic fields are still pulsing, providing their invisible, radiant shield against the solar winds. The gravity of the Earth remains a constant, gentle anchor, ensuring that you are always safe, always connected to the heart of the home. The atmosphere is a soft, velvet blanket, filtering the cold of space and holding the warmth of the day close to the soil. Even as you sink into the deepest layers of your own rest, the earth continues its tireless, silent work, recycling the air, moving the tides, and carrying you through the stars with a precision that is far beyond human measure. You are not merely an observer of this world, you are a vital, radiant part of its story. A leaf on the tree of life, a drop in the eternal ocean, a spark in the dark. The noise of the world has faded, the light of the day has surrendered to the soft, amber glow of memory, and all that remains is the steady, slow heartbeat of the planet. There is a peace here that is ancient, a stillness that is absolute, a sanctuary that has been prepared for you through 4 billion years of patient, scientific evolution. You are held by the stone, you are breathed by the forest, and you are sheltered by the sky. As the weight of the day dissolves into the shadow, find comfort in the knowledge that the universe is a place of order, of rhythm, and of profound, enduring love. The journey is complete, the circles are closed, and the world is at rest. And as the light fades, the silence becomes absolute. Tonight, you have drifted through the mysteries, absorbed the peace, and understood the ancient rhythm of the cosmos. Remember that the universe is always holding you, a constant, silent anchor. Rest now, deeply, sleep well, and I look forward to guiding you again through the physics of the dark.